Welcome back to Disenfranchised, the podcast that identifies disenfranchised grief through the lens of each and every Friends episode. I'm your host, Karen Bulinski Mathison, founder of The Naked Grief, a website where you can safely land for any grief-related support, whether it's from losing someone through death or anything else, because grief is really anything that changes us. I'm also creator of the Disenfranchised podcast, where we identify disenfranchised grief. What is disenfranchised grief? It's the kind of grief that doesn't get a casserole, that society thinks you should be able to get over pretty quick, and that we sometimes don't know how to process properly so that we can move forward with our lives without feeling more stuck. So, as we look at Friends, and some of the characters that do get stuck in their disenfranchised grief because they don't recognize how much help they actually may need, we are on to Season 3, Episode 3, The One with the Jam, or as Monica calls it, the Jam Plan. So just to kind of recap where we're at with the relationship-y stuff, Ross and Rachel are hot and heavy. Chandler and Janice, surprise, surprise, are hot and heavy. And Monica and Richard just ended recently. So Monica's spiraling while the other two couples are pretty much thriving. And Joey and Phoebe are kind of doing their own thing, moving along, grooving, getting their work stuff taken care of. Although this is also the episode where Joey has his own physical grief. So, as we dive in, Monica's grief over losing Richard isn't just sadness. It's a full-blown existential crisis. She is untethered. She's grasping for any scrap of control that she can manufacture. Haven't we all kind of done this at some point in time or another? If everything else in your life feels like it's out of control, you start cleaning things. You maybe do a DIY project, or decide to go on a trip just to get a change of scenery. We either want to empower ourselves, distract ourselves, or somewhere in between. And I think that's kind of where Monica's landed at this point. She's trying to take control. She knows how to make jam. She's a chef. Hey, if I can do this and make some money while staying distracted, this is awesome. And then she realizes that it just costs too much and she can't do it. So then she leans into why they broke up and gaining control of that. Logically, kind of makes sense. Is it the right thing, though? Chandler is locked in a relationship stalemate with Janice. He is scared of moving forward. He's afraid of commitment, and they have this awkward moment where she starts taking her food off of her plate and putting it on his and taking some of his food, and he feels too relationship-y and trapped, and he freaks out a little bit. And Joey gives him some good advice, and he says, lean into it. If it scares you, do a little bit more of it and see where it makes you most uncomfortable. Maybe you'll surprise yourself. And he does. And he even tells Janice at one point, I think I could handle moving in together. And she freaks out then. I haven't even gotten divorced yet. What are you talking about? But in the process, he's also learning how to communicate with Janice. So he goes over to Ross and Rachel and he says, all right, do I look fat? And they go, no. And he goes, all right, so why is it that when you say it, I accept that? And when I tell that to Janice, she freaks out. All right, walk us through it, is what Rachel says. And he says, so Janice said, hi, do I look fat today? And I looked at her and said, no. And the response was, you looked at her? You never look at her. Reflex. Do I look fat today? No. Is that woman prettier than me? No. Does size matter? No. And it works both ways. Almost a direct quote. I don't know. I've seen the episode a lot lately. And Chandler goes, well, wait, how do you guys just know this? So then he goes, all right, so what happens with the cuddle thing? She likes to cuddle. I need my space. And Rachel goes, well, we're cuddly sleepers, so we can't help you there. Rachel leaves to go to work, and Ross leans in and says, okay, so here's the thing. She's the cuddly person. I'm not. I'm like you. I need my space. So he says, what you do is, once you know that she is drifting off, you hug her close, and then you roll her away so that you get your space. So a hug for her and a roll for you. But Ross fails to mention what to do with the arm that's underneath of your partner that ends up falling asleep and getting very, very sore and tired. So Chandler does the hug and roll and then can't get his arm unstuck. And he says, all right, tablecloth magic trick. Quick. And he yanks his arm and she flips off the bed. Fast forward further into the episode, Rachel runs into Janice and Rachel asks her what happened. And she said, yeah, Chandler was kind of spinning me off the bed. And she said, well, that sounds fun. And she says, no, he was trying Ross's hug and roll trick. So the end of the episode ends with Ross kind of smacking Chandler on the head, saying, women talk. So for all you guys out there listening, women do talk. Maybe we don't share as much as we did in our 20s, but we do talk. So be mindful of that. But anyway, as we move forward, then Monica switches up on the jam plan when she realizes it's going to cost her $17 a jar. And she decides she's going to start looking at sperm donors. She says, I don't need a man. I just need a couple of his best swimmers. And why should I wait until I find the next right guy in another 20 plus years so that I am way too old to be starting a family? I can do that right now. Because that's really all I want. I don't have Richard because I wanted a kid, so I might as well give myself what broke us up. Again, kind of logical. The friends think it's kind of a bad decision, ironically, which we discover several seasons from now. But they don't think it's a good idea. They think she's jumping into something. She ends up finding Joey's profile on one of the sperm donor things, which is kind of funny. And she's still pretty determined. Until Joey says, you know, this is what I always thought of for you. I always pictured you with a blonde guy. And that you guys would have a pool. And you would live just outside the city. And you'd have 3 kids, 2 girls and a boy. And Monica decided that she liked the idea of the family better than doing this on her own, just because she wanted a kid right now and someone to love. I mean, I'm guilty of getting pets because I want something to love, different than having a kid, but I mean, maybe that's the first step. Get a plant, love that. Or if you want something to cuddle with you, maybe a pet or stuffed animal. You can start small. It doesn't have to be a human. It's a lot of commitment and things just to have something to love you back. And then we move into... Sorry, looking at my notes again. All right, well, let me just recap. When Monica announces her sperm bank initiative, her friend's initial reaction is sheer panic and mockery. Well, you're going to need much bigger jars. They treat her existential grief like a quirky punchline rather than a psychological SOS. They don't know how to hold space for someone whose grief is driving them toward impulsive, irreversible life pivots. And, you know, we do see this a lot with the friend support system. They're there. They're present. They're active. But none of them seem to know what to do or say. Which is actually so true to life, because how many of your friends or family have tried to show up for you on a day that's just been hard? Whether it's moving day, promotion day, job loss day, birthday, death day, and they don't know what you need. If it's your birthday, maybe you're turning 30 like Joey and freaking out. Why, God, why are we getting older? Or maybe it's because something else happened. You know, I used to dread birthdays after my husband passed. And then I had a weird pivot happen. And went, you know what? He never got to see his 41st birthday. So every year that I get further from 41, I need to celebrate. I need to embrace it because I'm doing it for both of us. He was younger than me. He never got to see 45, and that's how old I was when I became a widow. And every year that I live further, I need to celebrate. Have I been living since he passed? Not really. I mean, COVID definitely put a damper on it, but you know, all the people that said, I'll be there for you when he died, disappeared, especially his friends, family, so forth. And it goes both ways because I never reached out either. But when you're the one grieving, when you're the one who has an empty seat at the table, an empty space in the bedroom, it's different. It's very different. My oldest son moved out last year. I have an empty room now. I know he's still around. He's in another state doing his thing. It's very different, though, because I don't talk to him all the time. My youngest son lives down the hall from me. We see each other every day. We spend time together every day. If something happens that he doesn't walk in the door today, it feels different because he's a permanent attachment currently. Your mind processes things different. Sorry, I don't mean to spiral, but which I did, and I apologize. But my point is, support is support. So if somebody isn't showing up for you the way you want, you got to speak up. You know, you said you'd do anything for me. Just ask. Well, I'm asking. I need to go to a coffee house. I need to go see a movie. I need to go dancing. I need to watch people do karaoke. Or in our town, we have something super cool. Once a month, people write little 5 to 10 minute plays. And people in the audience go up and act them out. Sight unseen. Scripts unread. And, oh, it's hysterical. You know, they're reading the stage direction instead of just following it because they've never seen how this director or writer has written the script before. So it makes it light and funny, and laughter is great medicine. When you are stuck in your own head, sometimes just finding a way to laugh and distract is positive. So Monica's jam plan, or even the sperm bank idea, both solid. It was her acknowledging she needed a change and her trying to empower herself to make that change. I don't need anybody. I can do this on my own, whether it's making something or making something. So, some coaching moments and what if scenarios. What if Monica's friends had paused, set aside the jokes, and actually held space for the grief instead of forcing her to defend her frantic plans? If someone had said, Monica, you don't need a sperm bank today. You need to cry over Richard. Your heart is broken and it's okay. And you don't need to have a 5-year plan right this second. Now, I don't know that that is the magic that Monica needed. But maybe it was. Maybe Monica needed to know that she didn't have to make her life look like it was perfect when it was breaking. So I've been really struggling even getting these podcasts recorded for the last couple of weeks. And part of it is because of the fact that I keep having to rebuild parts of my website and my business structure because what I originally created isn't working the way I wanted it to. The content's great. It's solid. It's 8+ years of education, experience, life that I have poured my heart and soul into, written books about, and put out there at a very affordable cost for people that need it most. but I've always felt like something was kind of missing. And it's impacted how I've done these podcasts. It's caused me, last week's season 3, episode 2, I recorded that thing for 6 days. Was I happy with the final result? No. But it got to the point that I needed to do something, and I went on Facebook Live at 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on a Friday to put something out there because I was having issues recording, but I was having issues being tongue-tied, not knowing what to say. My whole balance was off. It's still off, you can tell, because I keep kind of pivoting. That's okay. I might redo this before it airs on Friday. Maybe not, because sometimes you gotta rip that bandage off and just put it out there. It is raw me, guys. This is who I am. I just kind of share with you what's on my head. The other part of this episode, though, is very beginning. Joey is jumping on the bed. Joey falls. Joey, arm sling. Dislocated his shoulder, actually, in episode 2 of season 3, when him and Chandler were fighting for the couch, or the chair, rather. He misstepped in real life and flipped over the coffee table and dislocated his shoulder. He finished recording that episode and then ended up in a sling for, I think, 2 episodes right after. So they wrote it in. He was jumping on the bed. And of course they make it funny because you hear the bed squeaking. And you think one thing until you hear, whoa, thunk. And then Joey's walking around with an arm sling on. And eating jam galore, wearing it all over his face. Just being like a little 5-year-old kid. Which is why everybody adores Joey, because he is the child in all of us, I think. You know, he's got that innocence and charm that we all kind of hope to have. So some relatable life examples within this episode is more of a thought. Have you ever found yourself deep cleaning your entire house at 2 a.m. after a devastating rejection? Or doom scrolling in the middle of the night because you just can't sleep? Or can't stop dreaming about whatever it is that's kind of haunting you at that moment? Jobs, haircuts, relationships. Have you ever downloaded 5 dating apps in 1 hour after a loss, or thrown yourself into a grueling work project because the quiet in your place is just too loud? And when you do these downloads, do you find that you keep swiping left instead of right because you know you're not ready, but you want to feel like you are, which is why you have these dating apps, because you want to feel like, I can go back out there again, people will want me. And then you're seeing like, no. And then you start to wonder, this is where the spiral comes, did I let go of somebody who was way better than I thought they were? I'm guilty of that. I've let people go that I knew wasn't a right fit. And then when I went back on the dating sites and saw what was out there, I was like, oh, wow. Oh, wow. Well, if I didn't want to be alone, I should have held on to this person, because they weren't so bad. But they weren't going to be a future, so I just can't anymore. I think I'm going to be single forever because I'm just picky. Anyway, so those gestures, that's your inner Monica. Because we live in a culture that rewards busyness and treats grief as an inconvenience to be managed. So we try to boil down our heartbreak into neat little jars of jam or whatever and sell it off, pretending that we're fine because we're doing things. True healing doesn't happen at the bottom of a jam jar or inside of a sperm bank catalog. It happens when we allow ourselves to stop running. So, this episode it's serious, yet funny. It makes us look at our own lives, which is the whole reason I do this, because I would love to know how many of you have started rewatching this series and looking at it different, because I sure have. I started season 3 for you guys, and I think I've rewatched season 3 now about 4 times, because I keep getting different things each time I see these episodes. And I go, wow. Wow. And you'll really see it because there's some things coming up in season 3, episode 4, the one with the metaphorical tunnel, that I only just noticed because it's the flashbacks. And of course, all the flashbacks are a little different because they didn't know how many seasons they were going to have. So when they would flashback, they didn't flash back all the way. So you don't know when you're actually meeting these folks. Chandler meets Rachel for the first time in this metaphorical flashback, although they had met while he was in college with Ross. But that's not where I was going to go with this. There's just some interesting things that we see throughout that next episode, not grief-wise, filming-wise, that I can't wait to discuss. So I will see you back here next week. Sorry to babble, just being honest. Keep it real. Be true to yourself. Until then, da 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 da.